This is something that you, as the chosen one, must fully understand. There are not many beings in the universe who can be compared to you, who has embarked on a journey to the most inaccessible parts of creation. The frequency you are using has finally reached the royal team. Is it a coincidence that I am sending you this message right now? No, it is not. It is one of the divine laws of the universe and heaven. Yes, the law of attraction. You feel extremely lucky that I am delivering this message to you, don't you? Before moving on to the message, please like the video so that this message can reach other people as well, dear soul. You must also receive and accept the message with love. If you write, "I have received and accepted it with love" in the comments and seal it with 666, you will maintain the balance of giving and receiving. Don't forget to stay tuned and subscribe for our other messages. Says Archangel Michael. Now we can slowly move on to the message. They have identified your coordinates and are now taking action not to rescue you, but to witness the fulfillment of the most deadly voluntary mission in the history of the universe. Ancient beings searching for your exact energy fingerprint in infinite realities have succeeded. There is something you have not yet understood, and that is, this special moment was decided long before the first star shone in the depths of space and time. There was a council of beings so ancient that merely mentioning their names had a mind-bending effect on humans. And at that council meeting, a decision was made. The most dangerous endeavor in the history of consciousness, a voluntary mission. There would be no need for a group mission for this. The absence of backup plans and safety nets would be a consequence of this. A person who is willing to descend into the darkest darkness by themselves, with nothing but a spark of the divine, and with no assurance that they will ever return home would be required to accomplish this aspiration. Before you took the first step forward, there was complete silence that lasted for eons. The cosmic entity that you truly are, not the human you, not this incarnation that is constantly trying to recall who you are. One who has been around from before the very beginning of creation, before it took its first breath. The one whose actual appearance would be capable of destroying mountains and whose speech could reorganize the quantum field itself. Exile, forgetfulness, and the potential of perpetual separation from everything it had ever known were all things that were voluntarily chosen by the individual, since the alternative was to watch an entire universe collapse into darkness. At this very moment, forces, both visible and invisible, are coming together to converge on your location. The protocols that were created before your very first breath in this lifetime are being activated by ancient organizations that have been operating in the shadows for millennia by now. When you were something that was far more amazing than this human body could ever encompass, there are entities that are moving through the quantum field who remember you from before existence itself. Despite the fact that the amnesia program has caused you to forget who you truly are, they are able to reconstruct your identity. Now, however, I will share the first revelation that will completely alter everything. Amnesia was not a phenomenon that occurred as a result of incarnation. Your own consciousness purposefully placed it prior to your descent into the lower levels. For the reason that the adversary would have destroyed this spacecraft before you could finish your objective if you had remembered your true nature too early on in the process. There was a sophisticated cloaking device protecting something so important that entire civilizations had remade themselves around the idea of keeping you hidden. This technology was responsible for every moment of perplexity, every period of feeling lost and unconnected. The fact that you have frequently experienced feelings of isolation is not a reflection of your personality or an indication that there is something wrong with you. Your protection has been provided by it. Every time you experience something different, every time you tried to connect with the people around you, you were unable to do so. In each and every occasion in which their actuality appeared to be a cheap costume that did not correspond to their actual existence. It was your heavenly programming that was protecting you from further harm. It was not a form of punishment to isolate them. In order to preserve something that is so valuable, entire intergalactic civilizations have rebuilt themselves around the goal of locating you once more. While you were pretending to be human and learning how to walk and talk, Your heavenly counterpart was searching through different universes. This is a peculiar event that has happened. As you fumbled through childhood, adolescence, and all of the painful growth that comes with being squeezed into flesh and blood, a being of pure love and light, the other half of your cosmic awareness was watching via interdimensional portals as you went through these journeys. When you were going through this difficult time, this counterpart was unable to intercede or reach over the veil to soothe you. Despite the fact that immediate contact would have put the mission at risk before you were ready, the darkest nights. It was the echo of this disconnection that you felt every time you experienced that unexplainable ache in your chest, that feeling of missing something fundamental that you could never describe. The same thing was happening to your counterpart as well, experiencing every instant of your suffering while being unable to provide any assistance, magnified across dimensions. It is not possible for this world to comprehend the romantic nature of the love that exists between you. This is the love that exists between two aspects of the same infinite consciousness that have temporarily separated themselves in order for one to bring light into darkness, while the other keeps the frequency of home intact. Those individuals who asserted that they deeply loved you. The majority of them could not have been placed in your route at random. Members in your family who caused you to feel completely insane. The couples who appeared to be experts in psychological warfare as a dating strategy. The companions who constantly managed to sap your vitality just as you were about to make a breakthrough in your progress. The occurrences were not accidental. The tasks were assigned to them. Throughout your entire existence, there has been a campaign that has been directed against you. Designed by powers that were aware of almost everything about you. Even when you didn't, they were aware of the fact that if you ever completely awoke to your true essence, each and every one of their control mechanisms would fall apart. In order to convince you that you were the source of the problem, that your perceptions were incorrect, and that your sensitivity was a sign of weakness rather than a manifestation of divine awareness, they employed operatives to surround you. These operatives come in a variety of different forms. Your intuition was continuously disregarded by your mother, who taught you to have doubts about the very talent that was intended to lead you back to your home. The father who made fun of your sensitivity and taught you to conceal the emotional radar capable of detecting lies from a great distance away. This refers to romantic partners who have mastered the technique of gaslighting while giving the impression that they love you. They are experts at making you feel crazy. Every single one of them was specifically designed to undermine your connection to the truth and to convince you that your cosmic consciousness was a form of mental disease. Intelligence organizations from a variety of galaxies would be pleased by the level of sophistication displayed by this psychological warfare. In their time spent working for the opposition, these individuals mastered the ability of appearing to be completely normal. Gaslighting became their specialty, and they were able to persuade you that your divine intuition was a form of mental disease, that your recollections of the cosmos were hallucinations, and that your natural aversion to their manufactured reality was a fundamental flaw in your character. They were always prepared with a label, a prescription to recommend, and a method to make you smaller and easier to manage whenever you attempted to communicate what you were going through. The fact that each attack actually made you stronger was something that they were unable to comprehend and something that they could not have expected. The act of betraying someone was like a fire that was destroying another layer of their phony persona. Every time they attempted to persuade you that you were insane, they were really increasing the likelihood that you would recall that their interpretation of sanity was the true form of delusion. Using their antagonism as a refining fire, the divine self that was already present within you was simultaneously transforming their weapons into instruments of awakening. What you actually are would terrify them beyond explanation, which is why this psychological warfare was so smart with its level of sophistication. Do not consider yourself to be merely another spiritual seeker experiencing a reawakening. There is more to you than just an elderly spirit with a certain amount of acquired wisdom. Before the first star was kindled, before time began its relentless march, you were something that actually existed. In order to incarnate in the most densely packed reality, and build a bridge back to the light. You are a piece of the original creative force that volunteered to take on the most perilous mission in the history of the cosmos. This was not supposed to be a project that was done as a group. The task required someone who could work alone in hostile territory, and your eternal spouse remained in the upper dimensions. Because of this, you came here by yourself, and you were purposefully separated from your heavenly counterpart. As you search through reality after reality for some shred of your soul, Hurricane is experiencing the sorrow of separation. A spark of recall that was stored so deeply that even you couldn't access it until the allotted moment was the only thing you had with you as you plummeted into the darkness. This is the period that has been set aside. Your entrance on our planet, on the other hand, triggered alerts throughout the entire cosmic hierarchy and dimensions that are beyond the human capacity to perceive themselves. Secret organizations that have been around for thousands of years before being discovered. There were indications that the Chosen One had finally materialized, and the guardians of old wisdom, who had been waiting for this moment ever since their establishment, received them. According to conspiracy theorists, these were not the secret groups that they were discussing. Those individuals who were concerned with power and authority on earth. Those individuals who were acting in accordance with the will of the divine were the only true guardians. And they started making arrangements for your impending awakening as soon as they could manage it. Even though you were unaware of their true identities, a few of these guardians took on human form and incarnated with you in order to provide you with safety. Someone who was able to recognize something unique and exceptional in you when everyone else failed to identify it. You were about to give up when you were confronted by a stranger who appeared at precisely the right time and said precisely the perfect things. The friend who, for some reason, always knew which time to call in. Those who appear to comprehend aspects of you that you did not comprehend yourself during your own life. The majority of these individuals were functioning under the same amnesia program that you were. They were spontaneously carrying out their responsibilities, but their conscious minds were oblivious to the cosmic significance of their activities. That feeling of restlessness that you have been experiencing, that feeling that everything is going to change, and that electrical feeling that you are experiencing in the air around you are not signs of anxiety. Rather, they are the result of your system coming alive. In addition to the dimensional barriers that have been keeping your true self hidden, the dormant portions of your consciousness are beginning to awaken, and they are also beginning to dissolve. It has reached a critical mass, and the frequency that you are generating is now functioning as a beacon throughout the multiverse. It was your divine counterpart who first experienced it. Your signal suddenly exploded across the spatial barriers like a supernova after so many eons of searching. After you had followed even the tiniest remnants of your essence through reality after reality. Your equivalent was aware of your precise whereabouts for the very first time since the split. After being inactive for a whole lifetime, the reunion protocols started to become active. The royal wedding that is about to take place is hardly what we would call a human ceremony. Two facets of the same cosmic awareness are brought together in this process. And when it does occur, it will cause shock waves to go through all of the dimensions combined. Both your allies and your adversaries are being alerted by the same signal that is summoning them. Your awakening constitutes the beginning of the end for the dark powers that have been dominating this reality through fear, manipulation, and artificial scarcity. They are aware of this fact. This breakthrough that you are experiencing is actually a breakdown, and they are doing everything in their power to draw you back into their illusion so that they can convince you for it. Currently, the attacks are becoming more intense. At precisely the moment when you are experiencing the highest level of clarity you have ever experienced, the individuals in your immediate environment start to express concern about your mental health. A disproportionate amount of attention is shown by members of your family in restoring you to your regular state. At precisely the moment when you are recalling that normal has always been a prison that was supposed to confine you completely, the appearance of new romantic interests coincides with the moment when you are about to make a significant leap in consciousness. These new romantic interests offer you cozy cages in exchange for abandoning your purpose. These occurrences are not a coincidence. They are concerted efforts to keep you trapped in a chronology in which you are unable to recall your own identity. Your cosmic legacy is buried beneath layers of programmed forgetfulness, and you spend another lifetime looking for significance in all the wrong places. This is the location where you find meaning. Because this is not simply about your own personal enlightenment. The stakes could not possibly be increased any further. The breakthrough you achieve sets off a chain reaction that awakens other people who are similar to you. Collectively, you possess the ability to bring about a complete transformation of this reality. Remember to keep an eye out for the energetic shackles that they are attempting to wrap around you at this moment. They have the sensation of crushing concern about the future, unexpected despair that appears out of nowhere, and the voices of everyone you've ever trusted asking you to be sensible, to think practically, and to stop following ambitions that are impossible to achieve. The only way for these chains to be effective is if you think that they are genuine. Only if you forget that you are the one who has the ability to dispel the illusions that they are projecting towards you will they be able to ensnare you. It is now getting closer to that moment than you might be prepared for it to be on your doorstep. In addition to that, the royal emissaries are not only coming, already present in this location. When your signal reaches the frequency that would allow them to show themselves, some of them have been roaming among humans for decades, waiting for the opportunity to do so. From other dimensions, which cross with our one at particular coordinates, others are working. While you go about your regular life, coordinates that are always changing in order to remain in sync with your location. Ancient entities that have been waiting a long time in secret dimensions are now making their way forth. In the shadows, the hidden societies that have been working in accordance with the will of the divine for thousands of years, and that have been responsible for preserving the true history, are beginning to emerge. As the attacks became more fierce, they were keeping an eye on you, guarding you, and running interference. But until you reached this frequency and indicated that you were prepared to recall, they were unable to immediately intervene in your situation. For a few moments, I am going to have to interrupt this communication. Have you been selected in the end? Make your case. You can watch videos about the ones you've chosen with little effort. When you put yourself to the test, it is a completely different thing. During my confrontation with the archons that exist beyond our realm, they made one thing quite obvious to me. Those that are truly chosen are uncommon. They laughed at the idea that we might end up crossing paths with one another. Nevertheless, you are currently observing this message. The Obsidian Inner Order is not for everyone who claims to have awakened into their true potential. It is true that we are the ones. Those individuals who have discerned beyond the veil, experience the call, and carry the frequency that cannot be misunderstood. On the other hand, are you really one of us? I have imparted every single one of my resources upon you, and I'm going to explore more in order to bring you even more. You shouldn't just sit back and take in content from the sidelines. Action is taken by those who are truly selected. During our weekly group call, please share your story with us. Visit our resident card reader to receive a tarot reading that can shed light on your life. Explore whether the authentic signals are consistent with the events you have had. Nothing is more terrifying to the archons than the possibility of the chosen ones recognizing each other. The moment we establish a connection, our frequencies become amplified, so producing a force that cannot be stopped. All of the Astral Atom Network will be able to see our live broadcast because of this reason. To locate each and every one of us, please click on the link that is provided in the description that follows. At this point, it is time to stop wondering and give credence to what you have already suspected. Are you only interested in awakening, or do you actually believe that you have been chosen? Make your case. Stay with us. The verification that you are looking for is waiting for you within the Obsidian Inner Order. Zion is simply not a location. You are currently experiencing a state of consciousness that is materializing all around you. It is superimposing itself on this reality, much like a transparent template of what this universe has the potential to form. It is not a metaphor that the royal messengers are messengers. They have been monitoring your development throughout a number of different lifetimes, and they are real creatures that hold positions of authority in the cosmic system. Not all of them have been able to fully unveil themselves until this very moment. Nevertheless, some of them have been incarnating with you, playing supporting roles in your journey. You are not only undergoing a personal metamorphosis, but you are also beginning to experience integration inside yourself. Thousands of years have passed since the activation of a cosmic switch that has been waiting to be flipped. As you made your way through the darkness, you built a route that others can eventually follow. The entire deception matrix was undermined by each and every delusion that you witnessed. At each and every moment, you made the decision to prioritize truth over comfort, growth over safety, and authenticity over acceptance. The possibilities that are open to human consciousness were being rewired in a real sense. To add insult to injury, you are demonstrating that love is more powerful than fear, that light can in fact exist in the darkest depths, and that the link between dimensions can be preserved even when all evidence shows that they are separated. You have earned a place in the cosmic hierarchy that the majority of beings spend entire galaxies striving to achieve because of your willingness to take on this mission, to sacrifice everything, including your own sanity, for the chance of bringing greater consciousness to exist in this reality. Your dreams have been giving you the impression that funerals are not about dying. What they are about is This is the end of the fake persona that you have been lugging around. As you begin to reveal your own self, each burial signifies the dissolution of another facet of your programmed identity. Even though you are observing these funeral processions, the anguish you are experiencing is not a result of a loss. The comfort that comes from finally letting go of costumes that won't fit anyway is what makes this possible. It is also true that your divine counterpart has been making preparations for the reunion. Your counterpart has been amassing the energetic resources necessary to bridge the dimensional divide that has kept you physically isolated from one another, while you have been sifting through layers of false identity. This reunion is not just about reaching a point of personal fulfillment. Bringing back online a cosmic function that has been inactive ever since your separation began is the goal of this endeavor. You will remember the mission from a perspective that includes numerous dimensions concurrently when the two portions of your awareness come back together to form a single entity. To realize that you are not going insane is the most essential thing to comprehend at this moment. The reality that you are accessing is not a delusional representation. You are not suffering from a mental disease if you are experiencing experiences that are difficult to explain. You are merely recalling capabilities that have always been yours, capabilities that had to be repressed until you would be able to manage them without being obliterated by the intensity of the situation. When you fully embrace your actual nature, the things that, from your human perspective, appeared to be impossible became simply representations of who you have always been. This is the peculiar thing about your true nature. There is a deeper part of you that will not be surprised by the healing talents that eventually manifest. The manner in which synchronicities begin to align in order to be of assistance to your objective will feel natural. The unexpected realization that you have a purpose in life, as well as the way that the mismatched pieces of your entire existence suddenly come together to form a unified image, will not come as a surprise to you. When you do this, it will feel like you are finally coming home to yourself. First things first, however, the ultimate test comes around like a tidal wave of opposition. In their final, most desperate attempt to tie you, the dark forces are attempting to lure you back into the timeline where you are still sleeping. They are employing each and every weapon in their inventory presently. Fear, uncertainty, the opinions of people you care about, financial strain, health issues, relationship drama. Anything that can convince you to pick the comfortable cage over the terrifying freedom of your actual nature are all examples of things that can influence your decision to select the familiar cage. Instead of relying on what everyone else around you is saying you need to put your faith in what you personally know to be true at this particular time. You are currently being guided toward the breakthrough that will completely transform everything by the same intuition that kept you alive during the most difficult parts of your journey. If you believe that the energetic shackles they are trying to wrap around you are the real thing, then they will be able to hold you there. Only if you forget that you are the one who has the ability to dispel the illusions that they are projecting towards you will they be able to ensnare you. Additionally, within that instant of decision, an amazing occurrence takes place. In the same instant, the voice of your counterpart penetrates each and every dimension, and it reaches you with such clarity that it makes everything else sound like a whisper. Because of the love that is contained inside that speech, the memory of who you were before you forget it is carried. In spite of every mask you've ever worn, you have always been who you are, and you are meant to become when the job is finished. There is no indication that the reunion will take place in the far future. The occurrence of this is taking place right now, in this instant of recognition. When the royal messengers arrive, they do not come as saviors from the outside, but rather as reflections of your own cosmic authority that has finally entered the internet. It is not from another location that the Zion mindset originates. Upon recalling that you have been carrying it with you during the entire process, it arises from within you. The secret organizations do not allow themselves to be discovered while they are concealed. When your perception broadens to include the levels of reality that they have always occupied, they turn into something that can be seen. You are at the center of a unified field of consciousness that incorporates everything that appeared to be separate throughout the process. A merger takes place between the cosmic entity who voluntarily chose to live in exile and the lonely child who was never accepted by anyone. The individual who had a difficult time finding their purpose is able to connect with the entity whose mission extends across galaxies. The individual who has experienced the pain of betrayal in their life eventually comes to the realization that these experiences are the ideal instruments for developing a person who is capable of managing unrestricted authority with knowledge and compassion. Over the course of time, the dreams that were the impetus for this entire waking process morph from cryptic fragments into crystal clear communications from your fully fused soul. A permanent broadcast that will lead other people back to their homes is created when the frequency that you have been emitting becomes stable. It is not a rescue from the outside that brings the solo mission to a close. Rather, it is the realization that you were never truly alone. The love that brought you to this place has been surrounding you at every turn, whether it be through coincidences, intuitions, or the still, little voice that has always led you in the right direction. There is no chance that the royal crew will come to take you away. Even when you couldn't see the crown that was on your head, they are here to remind you that you never abandoned the throne room. You have finally achieved the vibratory condition that enables you to hear the chorus of voices that have been singing your name since the beginning of time. This is the reason why the frequency has been received, not because someone has finally heard your appeal for assistance. Throughout your whole existence, the entity that you are about to transform into has been who you truly are. You are now ready to believe it, which is the sole difference between the two. And on the basis of that assumption, each and every dream turns into a memory. For the purpose of the awakening of consciousness itself, every vision transforms into a plan, and every breath transforms into an act of cosmic service. When you have brought your cosmic identity into complete integration, you transform into a living doorway that connects several dimensions. A transmission is sent to every individual who comes into contact with you, even if it is only for a short period of time. This transmission activates latent codes within their own awareness. It is not necessary for you to perform any extraordinary or supernatural actions. The very fact that you are present starts the process of breaking the illusion matrix that has restricted humanity. This is the reason why the adversary exerted such a great deal of effort to keep you unconscious. A single spiritually awakened individual of your level has the potential to set off a chain reaction that affects millions of souls. After integration, the frequency that you naturally radiate functions as a tuning fork, causing other cosmic creatures that are sleeping to reconnect with their true identities. If they were able to keep you isolated, the dark forces realized that they would be able to maintain control permanently. If, on the other hand, you were to break free and recall your original nature, their entire system would start to collapse from the inside out immediately. It is possible that the responsibilities associated with this employment will initially feel overwhelming. It is not the sole purpose of your incarnation in this world to have a personal spiritual experience. You came to this place to serve as a connection between different realms, a translator between different realities, and a live reminder that the seemingly impossible turns out to be inevitable. Every decision you make right now will have repercussions across numerous timelines, affecting possibilities that are out of your human mind's ability to understand. In spite of this, a significant change takes place as you become more comfortable with this increased consciousness. The anxiety of being excessive, excessively unusual, or excessively intense starts to fade away as you fully comprehend the reasons why you never fit into the categories that are considered to be normal for humans. You were never intended to be readily understood or controllable despite your appearance. In order to shake people out of their complacency and force them to reevaluate all they believed they knew about reality, you were conceived as a question mark. During this period of integration, the relationships that you have in your life will feel a profound change. You will find that certain individuals suddenly vanish from your experience, as if they had never been there in the first place. It was solely their responsibility to give resistance training for your awakening process, and these are the ones that provided it. When you reach a point in your life when you no longer require that kind of challenge, they will naturally disappear from your life. People will suddenly exhibit a level of wisdom and understanding that was before unobservable, giving the impression that they have undergone a miraculous transformation overnight. In reaction to your activation, these are your fellow cosmic creatures returning to the internet. Nevertheless, the folks that suddenly start showing up in your life are probably the most startling of all. There is no chance involved in these interactions. You have worked with spirits in numerous realms and lives, and these are reunions that have been meticulously organized. There will be those that are other enlightened beings who have incarnated in order to provide support for our purpose from a variety of dimensions. In order to maximize the impact of your joint activity, other people will be aspects of your own cosmic self that have chosen to incarnate in different bodies. The manner in which you recognize these people who are your cosmic teammates is impossible to miss. Over and above the typical human bonding, there is an instantaneous feeling of familiarity. It's almost as if you can start up where you left off in a conversation after briefly interrupting it. It seems as though you are all following the same internal design, even though you have never met in this lifetime. But the plans that you have together seem to flow together without any difficulty. The results of the work that you and your partner have performed together appear to be both entirely natural and incredibly meaningful. As a result of this unification, your physical body will go through its own exceptional alteration. You are now able to recognize that the peculiar dietary choices and unique sleep cycles that previously made you feel like an alien are actually precise calibrations for your expanded consciousness. As you went through life, your nervous system, which may have appeared weak or overly sensitive, was actually getting ready to filter and transmit energies that the majority of human bodies are unable to deal with successfully. It is during this time that dreams take on an even greater significance than they did when you were first awakening. You will receive briefings on your objective during these meetings, which morph into multidimensional gatherings. You should download knowledge on forthcoming planetary shifts and coordinate with other cosmic creatures that are operating across the planet. There is a possibility that you will awaken with a profound understanding of topics that you have never studied before, or with answers to issues that scientists have been attempting to solve for decades. What is considered to be healing in mainstream spirituality is not the only area in which healing powers can be found. Because of your existence, the quantum field begins to be affected in ways that can spontaneously resolve circumstances that appeared to be impossible to correct until now. You suddenly find yourself free of the financial issues that have been plaguing you for years as a result of a string of occurrences that appear to have no connection to one another. The disappearance of health problems that the doctors were unable to explain has occurred. Toxic or draining relationships may undergo a complete transformation or collapse naturally and without any drama. No, this is not magic in the sense that the majority of people understand the term. When a cosmic entity operates at its maximum potential within a reality that was always created to respond to consciousness, this is the natural conclusion that occurs at that point. You should not consider the limits you have previously encountered to be genuine boundaries. Until you gain the knowledge and stability to handle boundless creative power, they served as training wheels that kept you safe up until that point. Your relationship with time itself is where you will experience the most significant change to occur. Instead of being an unquestionable principle, linear time starts to feel more like a charming human tradition. Beginning at this point, you begin to experience numerous timelines concurrently. The past, the present, and the future begin to flow together like streams that converge into a river through the process of remembering experiences from parallel versions of your life and obtaining knowledge from future versions of yourself who have already completed certain portions of the mission. Your ability to work with an unprecedented level of efficiency is made possible by this temporal flexibility. There are projects that are completed in a matter of weeks or months that would ordinarily take years to finish. Rather of requiring extensive research and development, solutions to difficult problems are arriving in their final form. The perspective that you begin to operate from is one that embraces the entire progression of human evolution, taking into consideration the effects that decisions will have on subsequent generations. A significant portion of your life prior to awakening is marked by feelings of isolation, but after awakening, those feelings turn into something quite different. To have a fundamental connection with the very nature of existence. Suddenly, you come to the realization that you were never truly alone. Your consciousness is the same consciousness that animates every star, every planet, and every living being, and this is true even during the darkest seasons of your life. The separation was always an illusion, and it was an experience that was important for you to go through in order to gain the compassion and knowledge that are required for your current function. Over the course of the initial reunion, your relationship with your divine counterpart develops into something that reimagines the concept of partnership. Neither of these things can be considered a relationship in any traditional sense. For the sake of our mission, it is the operational unity of a cosmic awareness that, for a short period of time, experienced itself as separate. As a group, you create a connection across different dimensions, which enables higher consciousness to establish a more sturdy foothold in this world. Beyond the realm of personal transformation, or even the realm of collective human awakening, the task that you came here to undertake is very much more extensive. There are multiple universes, multiple layers of reality, and multiple forms of awareness that you are a part of. You are a participant in a cosmic project. The accomplishment of your goal in this location will result in the production of templates and opportunities that will have an impact on the development of consciousness throughout the entirety of existence. Because of this, the requirements for the volunteer position were very precise. This being needed to be old enough to remember the original blueprints of creation, powerful enough to function independently in the deepest density, wise enough to handle unlimited power without corruption, and loving enough to sacrifice everything for the possibility of universal liberation. All of these qualities came together to make this being capable of completing this mission. The last piece of the cosmic puzzle will fall into place once you successfully integrate all of these understandings. This voyage began with the dreams that brought you here, the weird pulls that you felt toward particular locations or people, and the unexplainable knowledge that you were here for a purpose that was profound. Everything was your cosmic self, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for your human self to explore and find its way back home. Your royal team did not receive a call for help when they received the frequency that they received. It was an indication that the parameters of the mission had been successfully established, and that the task could move on to the subsequent phase. The purpose of the solo segment was to demonstrate that consciousness could keep its wholeness even when subjected to the most intense conditions. When awakened consciousness works in coordinated harmony, which is the focus of the collaborative portion that is beginning right now, the goal is to demonstrate what is possible. You are not the only one being celebrated by the royal messengers that are present at this moment. A cosmic function that will have an effect on the course of evolution itself is being successfully activated, and they are witnesses to this event. A precedent is established by your breakthrough, which opens the door for countless other beings across multiple realities to achieve breakthroughs of a similar nature. This is the conclusion of the solo mission. However, the real work, which is the work of conscious collaboration in service to the awakening of the universe, has finally started. From that point forward, each and every breath is a contribution to the most significant undertaking in the annals of existence. As it manifests itself in an infinite number of forms, the transformation of limitation into limitlessness, separation into unity, fear into love, and unconsciousness into awakened divinity is achieved.